Peace, love and basketball finally coming to the Air Force Ones. There have been a few peace, love and basketballs over the last few years. There's also been a random peace, love and golf set that came out, but we'll just leave that aside for now. But yes, one of the iconic silhouettes gets one of the iconic sort of colorways or storylines of peace, love and basketball. And to be honest, from what I've seen of the other peace, love and basketball sneakers that have come out, there's been Blazers and other lines. To be honest, this Air Force one is actually really fire. I would say it's maybe the best one that they've done so far. And I'm not just talking about all the hits on it, because there are a ton of unique details, a ton of little sort of nods to various different things on this shoe. It's incredible how much they've crammed into what looks like a very simple shoe. And I'm going to take you through all of that today. Every little detail is just super unique on this shoe. But given all of that, they've crammed in so much onto this shoe, and it still looks like a clean shoe. And a lot of the previous peace, love and basketballs had way too much going on them. So taking this one, sort of stripping it back and putting the details in a sort of subtle way instead of an in-your-face way was a risk, and it totally pays off. Today's shoe is absolutely fire, and I'm totally looking forward to bringing this to you today. So let's get into this about the upcoming release of the Nike Air Force One Peace, Love and Basketball. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel day. It's Mainichi Upsudu no de, Mainichi Mite Kudasai. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news and sneaker reviews. And today, what's in the spotlight is an absolutely beautiful shoe. Now, we're talking 660 consecutive days on YouTube. So I've looked at a lot of shoes, sometimes double shoes in all of that. So I know my shoes. I've got a really good line on Air Force Ones because I've probably done about 20 reviews for them across this, what has it been, almost 2 years now. And this is absolutely clean, one of the nicest Air Force Ones I've seen in a long time, and with a lot of nice little features on there. Now, I usually don't like my shoes to be too busy. I talk about this a lot at the channel. If it's too busy for me, I don't really like it. Now, this shoe is kind of busy, but they've done it in a way that it looks very clean, and I really dig that. That's one of my favorite things, when there's a bunch of little details on there that are subtle, a little bit hidden, but when you dig and look for them, you see them and you're like, absolutely cool. This is definitely a shoe that we want to be looking at. So that's you know, where I'm coming from today, looking at this Nike Air Force One Peace, Love and Basketball. And it's just, you know, there's a history there. There's a bunch of shoes have come before this one, like I said before, and some of them have been a bit random, a bit sort of crammed in there. But a couple of themes that have stayed throughout. A yellow theme stays throughout all the Peace, Love and Basketball shoes, and then also, you know, in there with some reds and so what I'm calling magenta. I'm going for today, and we're also going for aqua. So the three main colors that play on this shoe for me are yellow, magenta and aqua, but maybe you want to call them different colors, but they are very cool and a bunch of details that just take my breath away for this shoe. So first things first, we're going to go big and then work our way small. I like to do that on the shoes and talk about the big details and then get into the little details on the shoe. So lateral side straight up, there's the shoe. A bunch of things on there that I just think they've got right. And first things first, is yellow. It's a yellow shoe. Or is it? Because that's what I thought when I first looked at this shoe. My first instinct was it's a yellow shoe and a simple plain yellow shoe. But then I read up about it, and we zoom in on the pictures like I'm doing right here, and it turns out that that yellow isn't a consistent sort of yellow leather feel to it. It's actually meant to represent a bit of graffiti, a bit of sort of street, and the idea is that the yellow isn't uniform. It's more of a spray paint feel to it. So instead of having that uniform yellow color that you normally get on the upper of sneakers, there's a bit of a difference in the sort of concentration of the yellow in certain places, and then a bit of fade on the yellow in other places, and it super works. From afar, it looks like a solid color. Up nice and close, you get that idea of variance of the different yellows at play across the upper on the shoe. Very, very cool. I think it's a great thing to put on a shoe, and it really fits with the sort of narrative of this one. Now, there's a lot on that lateral side. It doesn't look like it again. That's I've said that about 8 times so far in this video, that you have to dig deep to find out what's going on. One of the more obvious ones is on the quarter line there. You can see that aqua swoosh on there. And again, from afar, you might be just thinking aqua swoosh on the quarter line. Yeah, I mean, they sometimes do that on dunks, for example. You know, I've seen that before, but then you zoom in on it, as I hopefully again I'm doing here, and what you can see is it's not just an aqua swoosh, but it's got that sort of drippy kind of wet paint feel to it. So it's more that graffiti feel again that we were talking about before. Very, very cool, and a really nice little touch. Then if we come back a little bit from that and get onto the swoosh itself, one of the big details on this shoe that I totally love is that all the colors sort of, it's like a domino effect, that the aqua follows onto the magenta, follows onto the yellow, and then you get places where it wraps all of those in together. And what I'm specifically talking about is the swoosh, but not just the swoosh, but the stitching that runs around the swoosh. Usually, I would say, I think I could say usually, I mean, sometimes they do it for effect, as they have done here, but basically 9 times out of 10, the swoosh and the stitching are the same color. And of course, that 1 time out of 10, it looks really great when they take that little slightly different risk, a bit of a different design sort of path. And they've done that here, and it totally works on this shoe, the way that they've got that color stitching running around that black swoosh. Very, very cool. Now we're going to get into 2 very, very cool things on this shoe that I love when Air Force Ones do this. They don't do it often enough for me, but maybe they shouldn't do it often, because then when they do it, it actually looks cool and it looks kind of unique. So we're dropping down onto the midsole, but there's a couple of things in there that we want to talk about. It's basically a white midsole, but there's 2 features on it that make it stand out. Feature number 1, and this is where I'm talking about that domino effect. You have the aqua swoosh, and then the stitching, and it's not the aqua swoosh on the quarter line, and then the stitching on the swoosh, and now down here on the stitching that holds the midsole to the upper, you can see they've gone with a coloured stitching in there, and I think it's black. And usually, again, 9 times out of 10 on Air Force Ones, whatever colour the midsole is the colour that the stitching is in there, and then that 1 time out of 10 when they actually do flip out the colour, it really, really looks good, and that's what you've got right here. Love it when they do that, as a little dimension to the shoe, but again, it's discreet. It's a small little detail, but added all together, these small little details make for a really fine shoe. And then the next thing is most of the time with Air Force Ones, I don't like it when the branding on the midsole is the same colour as the midsole, but that again is usually the way it is. Maybe 7 out of 10 this time, the branding up there where it says Air is the same colour as the midsole, but you can see here, again, it's that magenta, this time on white. So you've got the aqua with the little swoosh on the quarter line, the colour and the stitching around the big swoosh. You've got this colour and the stitching across the length of the midsole, and then on the back here, you've got that magenta Air branding. And again, like I say, often you'll see white on white in a shoe like this, so having that bit of colour on there is very, very cool. Now, we have to stick with these colours, and you have to remember them. Aqua, magenta, black, yellow, all of those colours are going to come into play in a couple of minutes. But first I want to look, because we're so close to it, might as well go from the midsole all the way to the outsole, which is your white outsole, but they've gone with the 2 pivot points on there in that aqua blue as well. This is pretty unique for an Air Force One as far as I'm concerned. Usually Air Force Ones have a solid colour outsole, often white, but sometimes a different colour, sometimes like gum sole, for example, or black or red or something like that, but it's usually a solid colour. But this one with white, but those 2 pivot circles front and back in the aqua really is a nice little touch. And again, it's one of those things that's hidden underneath the shoe, not really obvious to some people, but then when you see it, you're like, absolutely great choice. Very, very cool. And then there's 2 places where, like I said, the all these colors sort of mix it up in together, and that's kind of the previous narrative of previous Peace, Love and Basketball shoes. There's a lot of mixed up color, but this one's gone with solid colors, except when you get up onto the tongue there, and you can see that the tongue mixes it together. It's a white tongue, but the branding panel on it is in yellow, and then the details on that in magenta and aqua, which totally fits in with the narrative of the rest of the shoe. So you've got all the colors playing off each other in there, and then we go back from that and into the insole, and you've got that Peace, Love and Basketball moniker right there, big and bold on the insole. And again, it's the main colors, but this time instead of the white tongue, you've got a black insole, but still the magenta and the aqua, and a little bit of yellow in there as well. So very, very cool sort of contrast between the tongues and the insole, but very, very cool the way they bring all of those colors together in those 2 places. And then the final thing to look at is all over on the back. Now, I was disappointed to read that it was Have a Nike Day, because I'm not a huge fan of that. I think it's a sort of clumsy piece of branding that they're trying to ram Nike into nice, and it just doesn't work for me. Have a Nike Day, have a nice day, have a Nike Day. I don't know what they were going for with that, but I don't get it. And I read on the back of these guys embroidered Have a Nike Day, and I was like, you're ruining the shoe. But then it's the logo, not the words, and I I dig the logo, especially again with that drippy sort of graffiti paint effect going on there, and it's a smiley face, but the smile is that lopsided swoosh, so the Nike branding in the middle of it. So if it had said "Have a Nike Day" somewhere on these shoes, I would have been like, ooh. But I can go with this. I can go with that bit of branding on the back. I think I'm right in saying again it's in magenta on the yellow upper, but I'll be able to show you either way. You'll be able to tell. There goes my iPad. You'll be able to tell what the colour is for sure. So and that's a good way to finish up the video, with my iPad falling on the floor and showing you the little Nike smiley face on the back of these, and then flipping it out to the big sort of broad side of the shoe so you can see the whole shoe. Very, very cool. All the way from that upper in the kind of inconsistent yellows, and then that little swoosh on the quarter line, the tongues are really fire, the happy face on the back. Everything about it is a great shoe. So if you're looking to pick up an Air Force One anytime soon, this is the shoe for you. I think these are very, very cool, and I think people are going to be like, you know what, that's a shoe I definitely want to go after. Okay, it's almost midnight. In fact, it's after midnight, and I have work tomorrow, so I better get off and tuck this video away. But I'll just do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.